Blind baby healed as Presbyterian pastor prays. Catholic family doctor converted. William Dunlap, a graduate of Wheaton and Princeton, had one great ambition, and that was to share in a true revival. When he heard that Brazil seemed ripe for revival, immediately he headed for Rio de Janeiro. Arriving there, he found that the only opening seemed confined to lecturing in English to pastors and theologians only. But one Sunday night, Dunlap and a Presbyterian pastor found themselves dealing with 104 inquirers in a meeting of 300. This proved the beginning of a revival which lasted 3 months, with scores of churches packed out in turn. Bill Dunlap felt deeply convicted that he was in no spirit to lead revival meetings, so he left São Paulo for Bauru, a smaller city in the interior where there were 4 Protestant churches and about 800 believers. When the 4 Protestant pastors, of as many denominations, heard that an American minister had come to town, they called at the hotel to pay their respects. But Dunlap told the interpreter that he was too busy praying for social calls. The pastors adjourned for a little coffee and returned in an hour, fully expecting that the Norte Americano would have completed his devotions by then. Getting no answer to their knock, they peeped in, and discovered the visitor lying on his face upon the floor mat, interceding with God for revival in his own soul, in the churches of Bauru, and in Brazil at large. They tiptoed away, and one immediately said, "I always thought that those Norte Americanos were a proud people and efficient, but there was that young man praying on his face." The 4 pastors, in the quiet of a parsonage, poured out their hearts to God for Bauru. The 2 enemies were reconciled, and revival had begun. Within a month, the Spirit of God had added more to the churches than in the previous 20 years. Within 3 months there were more attending the prayer meeting in the Presbyterian church at 6 each morning than there had been believers of all denominations in the town. And the other churches shared equal blessing. Last word was that the 4 pastors had formed a team, and were evangelizing the whole district. Dunlap continued in revival ministry, preaching in great united campaigns throughout central Brazil. After Dunlap's departure from Brazil, a Presbyterian minister in metropolitan Rio received an urgent telegram from where there is a flourishing church to come and hold meetings in Nepomuceno. To him a very odd request, seeing that the mission church there depended upon monthly visits from the nearest 2 pastors. But Reverendo Raul agreed to go. During the second evening, at the commencement of his sermon, Reverendo Raul was interrupted by a woman coming forward with a baby in her arms, loudly demanding that he pray for the healing of her totally blind child. The pastor evangelist tactfully suggested that they had better talk together in the vestry after the service. After all, he was a Presbyterian. But the distressed woman quoted Reverendo William Dunlap, as he was called, "Greater things than these shall ye do," which Dunlap had applied to the need of revival, whereas the poor woman applied them to her closest need. The evangelist promised that he would pray for the blind child after service, in the vestry. The importunate woman protested that Reverendo Dunlap had said that it was when the 120 were together in one accord in one place that things happened. There happened to be 120 Brazilians in the packed-out chapel. So Reverendo Raul took the baby in his arms, and prayed a very iffy prayer: "Lord, if it be thy will, heal this little blind child, if not, give the mother strength to bear the burden." He confessed later that he felt sure the answer was in the negative. So he handed the baby back to its mother. The mother screamed. The film covering both eyes of the infant had split and curled backwards. The mother could see that her child was healed. Then followed what Reverendo Raul described as the most un-Presbyterian meeting of his experience. People stood on the pews, the baby was passed from mother to mother, happy men embraced the father, there was singing, testifying, praise, prayer, conviction, confession, decision, and an informal meeting until midnight. Medical evidence? Well, Reverendo Raul said that he was satisfied, because among the 87 professedly converted that night was the Roman Catholic family doctor who had delivered the blind child. Everywhere there are signs of revival, and Brazilian believers like to think that Brazil, a country with the possibility of outstripping the USA in population, will be the first Latin country to become Protestant. It must not be deduced that either Dunlap or his colleagues featured healing in their campaigns. Their campaigns were aimed at revival and salvation. But when revival came, the power of God came with it, and as in every revival since the beginning of the age when the faith of the people was quickened, healings were a natural result.